On the way to a prenatal checkup, I met a woman in labor and she begged me to drive her to the hospital. After she got in, I noticed her thick body hair and hoarse, strange voice. I tried to secretly call the police, but she pressed a knife against my neck. She forced me to drive to a secluded spot and, ignoring my pleas, did something cruel to me. Afterwards, Panlay killed me, grinning at my corpse. The game began when I saw the pregnant woman flagging me down again. The pain of being cut and suffocated still lingered. The road was still empty, and she was just like last time. I was already twisted in agony. My car stopped in front of her again. "Sister, you're pregnant too, right?" She glanced at the sticker on my rear window, "Expectant mother on board. Please be considerate." I, Liang Chen, had put it up the day I confirmed my pregnancy. "Please save me. My car broke down. I'm so scared." Her urgent, desperate voice drifted through the half-open window. I couldn't help but shudder, snapping back to reality. Last time I was too eager. I only worried about the baby in her belly. Though her voice was deep, I was in too much pain. I assumed it was just her voice changing from pain, so I didn't think twice and let her in. If I'd looked closer, I'd have noticed her exaggerated makeup and oversized frame. It was neither masculine nor feminine, and it was still warm for early autumn. But she wore a scarf to hide her Adam's apple. She was a fake pregnant woman. "Sorry, calling 120 is better for you. If something happens, I can't bear the responsibility." I fought to steady my heartbeat and voice, gripping the steering wheel. I planned to quickly change lanes, but she didn't give me the chance. Seeing my refusal, her face twisted and she lunged at me. She whipped out an iron chain from her coat, threading it through the still open window and around my neck. She yanked hard, and my head slammed against the window with a thud. Dazed and dizzy, my body tilted and my foot slipped off the gas pedal. The car slowed instantly. "Damn it, trying to run? I've been waiting for you all day." Her wig, from the violent movement, nearly fell off, revealing a large, bald, shiny scalp. Her face was twisted in fury. Like a wolf baring its fangs, I instinctively grabbed the chain with one hand. Steering with the other, I stomped on the gas with both feet, but she saw my intent and yanked viciously. With a crack, my jaw broke again. Blood trickled from my mouth. In that moment, I felt the baby kick. "I'm sorry, my baby." Mummy failed. The rear-view mirror showed my bloodshot eyes, a cold tear sipping from the corner. The fake pregnant woman sliced open my belly, pulled out my barely formed child, and with bloody hands, patting my cooling face, she asked, "Cruel, painful? Savor it when you wake from the suffocation and pain." My little goldfish swam happily inside me. He's only 4 months, so well behaved. He never gives me trouble. Throughout my pregnancy, I've barely had any symptoms. Thankfully, when I came to, I was still at least 50 meters from that fake pregnant woman. I quickly rolled up the window, changed lanes, and put distance between us. I ignored her waving and, still shaken, touched my belly. I said to my baby, "Don't be afraid, sweetheart. This time Mommy will protect us both." Inside my belly was my PhD graduated self, who had spent a full year preparing my body. I'd given up half my career for this precious child. I'd pray for, if I could just avoid this disaster. We'd meet in just over 5 months. Seeing me not stop, the fake pregnant woman gritted her teeth and chased after me. I panicked, yanked the wheel and floored the gas. I sped away, but an oncoming heavy truck sent me flying, car and all. Unable to brake, it crushed my car flat. In that instant, I clutched my belly, my heart turning to ash. I closed my eyes, tears streaming. When I came to again, I was from the fake pregnant woman. Dressed as a pregnant woman, still 500 or 600 meters away. I couldn't even make out her features, just her bizarre silhouette. I quickly signaled, turned around, and drove off, calling my prenatal doctor's assistant. Cancelled today's prenatal checkup and called Liang Chen, telling him to drop everything. He was supposed to accompany me, but a critical meeting came up at the last minute. So I went alone, thinking the road was short and familiar. Traffic was light, the route simple, and I was willing. It wasn't a big deal, I could handle it, but I never imagined it would be a one-way road for me and my baby. "I have 5 minutes left in the meeting, then I'll drive to you." Before I could finish, Liang Chen hung up. I wanted to say more. To tell him, if anything happened to me, to take care of my elderly parents. I didn't know if I could hold on until he came. Being killed repeatedly by that fake pregnant woman had terror in my bones. Even far from her, I felt unsafe. My legs wouldn't stop shaking. Soon I realized where the fear came from. Through the rearview mirror, a black sedan was tailing me, trying to overtake. I floored the gas, ignoring the speed limit, but they forced past me. The moment our cars were side by side, the driver rolled down the window and smirked at me. It was the fake pregnant woman. She had removed the wig, revealing a shaved head. Her eyes were sharp and cruel. I turned back before meeting her. So why did she follow? Only one possibility. As she said before, she came specifically to kill me. I reached for my phone to call 110, but she yanked the wheel and rammed me. My phone fell, hitting my foot, before I could even cry out. She kept ramming me, forcing my car behind a concrete mixer truck, then slowed down, pulled behind me, and the concrete in the truck poured down, sealing me and my car into a concrete statue. I trembled in darkness until a sledgehammer smashed through the glass and crushed my head. Blood ran into my eyes. Everything turned red. The fake pregnant woman grinned before me. Even if you skip the checkup, you can't escape. With my last breath I begged, please don't take my baby, let us stay together. My last sight was her vicious face. When I opened my eyes the fourth time, I was just driving toward the maternity hospital. I turned around decisively and called the doctor's assistant, canceled the checkup, drove back to the underground garage, then left a message for Young Chen, telling him I was in danger, asking him to come home. Right after the meeting, Young Chen practiced martial arts since childhood. He could protect us. After the call, I suddenly remembered what the fake pregnant woman said before I was killed last time. She knew I was going for a checkup. That made no sense, even though I had a pregnant sticker on my car. And this road led to the maternity hospital. I turned back before getting near her. How could she be so sure? My hair stood on end. Then the garage lights went out with a pop. Darkness fell, and a bad feeling crept in with it. The fake pregnant woman had found me. I killed the engine, locked the doors, and held my breath. The lights going out meant she was in the garage. If I groped toward the elevator, she might be waiting there. I crouched low, lowered my head, held my breath, reached for my phone in my bag, hoping it wasn't too late to call for help. I couldn't understand how she found me so fast. Shouldn't she be on that road, unless she'd been following me all along? She overtook me and waited ahead to kill me. But still, how did she know I had a checkup today? My hands shaking. I just sent the alert text when footsteps echoed. No time to think. Then my phone rang. It was Liang Chen. He must have seen my earlier message and worried about me. He called, but I only silenced the ringer, not the vibration. The buzzing sound, which I usually wouldn't notice, was deafening in the dark, silent garage. The screen light flickered, illuminating my panicked face. I fumbled to hang up, but the footsteps stopped right at my car. A twisted face pressed against my window. The moment our eyes met, I felt like ice water was poured over me, frozen from the inside out. It was too late. Found you. She grinned. A deafening crash. A sledgehammer shattered my window. She grinned and pulled out a chain, wrapping it around my neck. When I woke up the fifth time, I was driving out of the underground parking garage, touching my slightly swollen belly. I took 2 deep breaths. Baby, I hope we can make it this time. I immediately silenced my phone and quickly drove back into the underground garage. I called the doctor's assistant to cancel the prenatal checkup. She's my best friend and had worked hard to book it. If I didn't go, I owed her an explanation either way. Just as I was about to call Liang Chen, I froze. Last time, if Liang Chen hadn't called, I wouldn't have been discovered so easily. Maybe I could have held out until the police arrived. So was the problem Liang Chen? Was the fake pregnant woman sent by him to kill me? After all, if I died, he'd inherit my shares in 2 listed companies and 3 prime properties. But Liang Chen owned his own company too, and his family was well off. Was he seeing someone else, or had he hit a massive financial hole that only my disappearance could fill? But that didn't make sense. He'd never mentioned anything like that in front of me. If that were the case, he would have at least brought it up to gauge my reaction, emotionally speaking. We fell in love in college, been together for years, supporting each other through everything. We were a couple who'd weathered hardships together. Now I was pregnant, and the child was his. He was always so gentle with stray cats and dogs. How could he kill his own wife and child? But then I remembered those news stories about fathers killing their kids. I couldn't be sure whether this man I'd shared a bed with for 7 years was innocent. I couldn't gamble my life and my baby's life on his conscience. After hesitating for a moment, I dialed the police instead. Hello, MS. Fang? Please return to your room as quickly as possible and lock the door. We'll arrive at your community within 5 minutes. Until then, please protect yourself as best you can. I touched my belly and nodded repeatedly. Hearing the call end, I felt much more at ease. Steadying myself, I checked the time. Last time, the parking garage power outage was at 9 a.m. It was 8:58 now. In 2 minutes, that fake pregnant woman would show up. As long as I could get back to my apartment before she found me, I'd be safe. I quickly got out and locked the car. I jogged into the stairwell and pressed the elevator button. The moment I stepped inside, a figure slipped in after me. I nearly screamed in fright, but when I saw the person had a ponytail and wore the property management cleaning lady's uniform, I swallowed the scream back down. But within 2 seconds, I noticed something wrong. This auntie hadn't pressed any floor button. Only 20 was lit up on the panel. And she was facing away from me. I couldn't see her face at all. Auntie, cleaning? Which floor are you going to? I'll press it for you. I mustered my courage and tried to strike up a conversation to confirm my suspicion. But the moment the words left my mouth, I regretted it, because I saw the cleaning lady's furry, thick, powerful hands. These were clearly the hands of that fake pregnant woman. Just then, another voice announced, 20th floor. Neither of us moved. In the second before the elevator doors closed, I bolted out. At the same time, I heard the rattling of a chain. I was strangled from behind again, like a horse being reined in, and dragged into the surveillance blind spot. My violent struggle made my abdomen ache terribly. I dropped to my knees, grabbing the chain with all my strength, my eyes bulging, and begged him desperately, "Can you please not kill me? I'm pregnant. Please, spare." But he sneered and said, "Pregnant women are exactly who I kill." This time, 2 minutes before the police arrived, I was strangled to death in the stairwell with no cameras, only 30 meters from my front door. When I opened my eyes the 6th time, I gasped for air like a drowning person, the taste of blood still lingering in my throat. At that moment, I had just stepped off the elevator into the parking garage. I spun around and frantically pressed the elevator button. The moment the doors opened, I rushed inside as fast as I could. As the doors closed and the elevator rose steadily, I let out a long sigh of relief. This time, I wasn't going to call anyone. I just hugged myself tightly. Hello? MS. Fang, please return to your room as quickly as possible and lock the door. We'll arrive at your community within 5 minutes. Until then, please do your best to stay safe. The operator's gentle, motherly voice filled me with a sense of security. Last time, I hadn't called Liang Cheng. But later, I would tell her I never made it to the prenatal checkup. Yet the killer still came for me, so really, I could basically rule her out as a suspect. That leaves only my best friend, a doctor's assistant. Every time I sensed danger and avoided the hospital, she was the first I called, and the killer got the news just as fast, quickly changing his plans to kill me. But my friend and I went way back, since childhood pawnshop days. We went to school together, traveled together, cried and laughed together. We even swapped clothes sometimes. I thought we were ride or die, so I called her, told her my route. With a ding, the elevator doors opened again. I reached the 20th floor. My footsteps echoed in the empty hallway. Maybe it was my imagination, but in the dim light, besides my heartbeat and ragged breathing, it seemed like some animal was breathing along with me. I glanced around cautiously, observing the hallway. I gently stroked my belly, calming my restless baby. It must be my pounding heart. I'll make your heart beat. I'll make your heart beat. Calm it down. Don't be scared, baby. We'll be safe soon. From the elevator to my front door, just a few dozen meters, felt like a kilometer. Finally, I stood at my door. Facial recognition unlocked it automatically. But the moment I was about to open the door, a sound rushed at me. An arm grabbed my neck, dragged me away. The door locked itself. A mechanical voice repeated frantically, "Unknown human detected, unknown human detected." It sounded shrill and eerie in the empty hallway. It was the killer. So he had been watching me all along, whether I called or not. I couldn't escape his pursuit. Inside the room, he grinned crookedly, closing in step by step. Who are you? Why do you want to kill me? I clutched my belly, eyes wide, tears streaming uncontrollably. What, don't you know the answer? He laughed like a demon. I shook my head in terror. The little goldfish in my belly squirmed uneasily. You don't recognize me. I widened my eyes, searching my memory for this person. Strangely, he looked familiar, but I couldn't recall where I'd seen him. Suddenly, I remembered a wanted poster I'd seen on the news just 2 days ago. You're the serial killer who hunts pregnant women. He toyed with the knife in his hand, pleased with himself. Your eyes aren't too blind after all. Do you like knives, hammers, or chains? You're prettier than your photo. What a beautiful pregnant woman. Too bad. Today next year will be your death anniversary. My heart turned cold. I shuddered and asked in a trembling voice. Where did you see my photo? Just then, knocking came from the door. The police had arrived. The killer clamped his hand over my mouth, pressing the knife to my carotid artery. Don't make a sound, or I'll slit your throat right now. The police couldn't reach me by phone, so they pounded on the door. MS, Fang, we're here. Are you home? MS, Fang, for your safety, we must break in. When I still didn't respond, with a bang, the police forced open my front door. Master bedroom upstairs, clear. Living room and both bathrooms, clear. Clear. Kitchen, balcony, and maid's room, clear. Clear. Seeing the police about to leave, I steeled myself. Either way I was doomed, so why not take a gamble? Maybe I'd still have a chance to live. I shoved the killer's knife away and lunged for the door. Before I could scream, he stabbed me in the back and clamped his hand over my mouth. He was so fast, I couldn't make a sound. Blood surged up from my chest, forced back down my throat, gurgling. I stared at the door so close. Tears streamed down uncontrollably. My apartment was indeed empty, because the killer had somehow opened the door across the hall and dragged me in my neighbor's place, so I was actually across from my own home. Log it for dispatch. Blue Star Garden A Diva Wen 2001 suspected of filing a false report. Over. The police thought I'd made a false report, searched my place, and left. That was the closest I'd ever been to the police, less than 10 meters away. After they left, the killer, face fleck with sweat, released his hand from my mouth. Blood gushed out. With a thud, I collapsed like a slaughtered animal. MS, Fang, you've been naughty. As punishment. This time I'll do something different. I trap people in my home. 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 I was trapped, shaking my head in fear, trembling all over, hoping for a miracle, like the hearse suddenly returning home, or my Liang Chen suddenly appearing to save me. He dragged me into the bathroom, pinched my chin, and whispered in my ear. You know what? Killing pretty pregnant women is enjoyable and cost-effective. Kill 1, 2, die. Even 3. I wanted to beg for mercy like before, but blood kept surging from my throat into my mouth. I couldn't utter a single word. This was my worst death yet, dismembered alive by this maniac. My last memory was nothing but blood-red patches. Why did it have to be this way? No matter what I did, how many times did I have to die to survive from the killer's hands? Opening my eyes for the 7th time, I was back to the day I fainted from low blood sugar. Being sent to the hospital and discovering I was pregnant. The killer probably hadn't targeted me yet that day. If I remembered correctly, the killer only targeted pregnant women, based on the previous 6 times. He would first lock onto his target, then disguise himself and start stalking. Then kill the victim. I was only 4 months pregnant when I was killed, just starting to show. But it wasn't too obvious yet. To ordinary people, I just looked slightly heavier. How could he, a stranger who didn't know me well, tell I was pregnant? And besides, from the way he spoke, it seemed he had been watching me for a while. If he had spotted me the moment we met, then I'd be dead. I gasped. There was only one possibility. He got the list of pregnant women from the hospital. My appointment was today, originally scheduled 3 months later. But thanks to my best friend, I got to see the obstetric specialist early for pregnancy maintenance. With that thought, I put on my shoes and rushed out of the ward. Heading straight for the nurse station, because just moments ago when I was unconscious, my best friend had already registered my file, taken it to the nurse station, and placed it in the filing cabinet. It was lunch break. The only nurse on duty was dozing off. A fresh cigarette butt lay on the floor outside the nurse's duty room. A sense of dread washed over me. The door was ajar. I gently pushed it open a crack. Peering inside, a figure soaked in water came into view. The killer had his back to me. Rummaging through the pregnancy files. "Fang Ru, what are you looking at?" my best friend whispered from behind. However, in this quiet afternoon, even a whisper was enough to alert the person inside. The killer heard the noise and spun around. Our eyes met before I could dodge. In his hand was the very file created today. Mine was on top. At that moment, he knocked out the nurse first, then shot me a sinister grin. I snapped back, quickly slamming the door shut. Gripping the handle with all my might, I shouted to my best friend, "Quick! Call the police, there's a killer inside." My best friend fumbled for her phone. Dialing the police. Meanwhile, the killer behind the door was yanking the door violently inside the nurse's duty room. The door rattled terrifyingly, but this time, no matter what, I wouldn't let go. I wasn't strong enough. So I braced my feet against the wall, pulling the handle with everything I had. Sticky blood dripped from the handle, splashing onto the floor. I glanced at the terrified nurse who had fainted, and hissed, "Help me." The nurse snapped back to reality and rushed over, pulling the handle with me. My best friend finally managed to explain what happened and where, then joined in. But with a crack, the handle tore clean off the flimsy wooden door. I and the nurse tumbled backward. My hands were a bloody mess, nearly fainting from the pain. The door frame swung open. The killer, furious beyond reason, lunged at me and stabbed me 3 times in a row. Through the spray of blood, I heard my best friend scream. I crashed to the ground, my last gaze landing on the killer fleeing in panic, being tackled to the ground by police who had just arrived. Except this time, I didn't die. As I slipped into a coma from my injuries, I heard a voice ask, "Game over. Does it hurt? Do you feel it now?" I struggled to open my eyes. A blue-eyed girl in a white coat and several police officers stood before me. "Your dream is about to end. In 1 week, the execution will be carried out," the blue-eyed girl said to me again. I looked around, but there was no one else nearby. "Are you talking to me?" The sound I made startled me hoarse and rough, clearly the voice of a fake pregnant woman. Right across from me was a huge mirror, reflecting a scruffy, shackled fake pregnant woman. She stared back at me wide-eyed. I tried raising my left hand, and she raised hers too. I moved my right foot, and she did the same. Stranger still, she looked exactly like the killer. I pointed at her. She pointed at me at the same time. "What's going on? Who is she?" The blue-eyed girl sneered. "You should remember now. Stop playing dumb." Those words hit me like a thunderbolt. My head buzzed, as if waking from a dream, slowly regaining clarity. "I am Chen Jida. I was never Fang Ru. She was the last pregnant woman I killed." Right there in the hospital, that woman locked me in the room where pregnancy files were stored, gripping the door handle and refusing to let go. Both her hands were broken, but she held on until the police arrived. I stabbed her 3 times. Every stab was fatal. I was pinned down by police. Having tortured and killed 8 pregnant women, I was sentenced to death 2 months ago. Before execution, I was sent to a place called Dream Prison. Its master was a dreamweaver named Lin Zai, said to be able to rescue people from nightmares. He could also craft dreamscapes. Working with the justice system, he built the Dream Prison. It was made to hold the worst criminals. The prison had many rooms, each built from the criminal's own crimes. I was the first inmate ever admitted. Lin Zai poured my killing history and victim files into the prison. Using the last victim, Fang Ru, as the protagonist, he wove an escape nightmare from the other victims' experiences. I killed 8 pregnant women, so he set up 8 cycles, letting me be reborn 7 times. Each time, I was tortured to death by my former self as the victim, experiencing how all 8 women were killed and every pain they endured. Rape, abuse, exhaustion, hammers crushing skulls, darkness shattering, fire stealing breath, dismemberment in pieces. I wept and begged Lin Zai, "Can't you be less cruel? Being killed in dreams hurts too." He sneered, "When they begged you back then, what did you do? So guess if he'll show mercy." Chen Jida, congratulations, you get to experience every pain you inflicted on your victims. Fear and despair. I guarantee 100% accuracy. Down to the last detail, the game is about to begin. Enjoy your sentence. Under the gaze of the media, a middle-aged fake pregnant woman in uniform held out a document like a verdict and said to me, Cheng Jida, male, 38 years old. From 2015 to 2058, he killed 8 pregnant women, 4 of them brutally on Phai Road. The killer exploited the victim's sympathy, disguising himself as a woman in labor to hitch rides to nearby hospitals. This caused extremely social impact. In May 2057, he followed a pregnant woman. He bludgeoned her to death in a parking lot, desecrated the corpse, and stole her organs. Extremely cruel methods. In July 2015, he followed 2 pregnant women. He raped and tortured them to death in a blind spot. In February 2015, he followed a pregnant woman in Langsing district. He killed and dismembered her. When discovered, the victim's flesh showed physiological reactions. The victim may have still been conscious during dismemberment. Utterly cruel. In 2018, while stealing pregnancy files from a hospital, he was discovered by Fang Ru. After killing her, he was arrested on the spot by police. This heinous criminal, per Article 556 of the Criminal Law, is hereby sent to Dream Prison to enter the eightfold torture nightmare, experiencing all the harm he inflicted on victims for 1 month. Per Article 557, Cheng Jida will be executed by firing squad 1 week after leaving Dream Prison. The reporters present snapped photos and applauded. I thought, what's so exciting for them? It's just a month of nightmares, right? I'm not afraid. In the first week at Dream Prison, I kept telling myself clearly, I am Cheng Jida, not Fang Ru. Every time, I fought desperately against the killer Cheng Jida in the dream, but I was always slaughtered, utterly helpless. Why was I so vicious back then? Being strangled feels awful worse than being stabbed, and I was raped by myself, over and over. Just thinking about it makes me sick. However, starting the second week, I gradually realized how terrifying this dream prison was. Though it was a dream, everything felt exactly like reality. It hurt like hell, killed again and again, revived again and again. Struggling to survive by any means. Worse, I was slowly forgetting that I was Cheng Jida. I started becoming feminine, caring about my appearance and my voice, and began stroking my own belly. Feel the attitude inside. Damn, I'm about to lose it. By the 3rd week, I fully accepted being pregnant, and I read the knowledge with great interest. Going to the hospital for checkups at night, hearing the heartbeat made me happy and warm, even when facing the killer. I protect my belly and beg on my knees, pleading for her not to touch my child, to let us stay together. When I was finally strangled, beaten, and dismembered, it was so sad, so painful. Being forced was absolutely unbearable. It was utterly disgusting. All rapists should be physically punished. This killer was an animal. No, she was worse than an animal. How could she be so vicious, so inhuman, at the moment of freezing to death? That despair, that torment, was utterly agonizing. In the 4th week, as a pregnant mom, I was terrified of the killer, constantly searching for ways to avoid her. I began to suspect everyone around me, like a startled bird, replaying every death at full speed. My nerves were stretched like bowstrings, hoping every time to dodge that damn killer and survive with my child. I started cursing the killer, wishing her endless nightmares, struggling on the edge of life and death like me. To experience all the pain I went through, that damned one, if heaven had eyes. Don't let her off easy when caught. Better to slice her piece by piece, before she died. Find 100 strong men, let her truly taste what rape feels like. Damn it. I was seething with hatred. Cheng Jida, today is the day you leave Dream Prison. Anything you want to say? Dream Prison Warden Ling Zai asked me, with the prison's creed, fairness and justice, hanging behind him. Remembering my dreams, my nose stung. An ordinary life. I fell to my knees, kowtowing to each photo of the victims, saying sorry. Sorry, as I sobbed uncontrollably. I instinctively touched my flat belly, but found it empty. When I was just Cheng Jida, I thought I was God. I decided who lived, who died, all by my will. Now, I think that's all bullshit. I just want to kill all the evil in the world. Have a child and watch him grow up safely. Sob. Suddenly, I remembered something important, something I planned to take to the grave, but now I decided to speak up. I have something to say. I raised my hand and shouted. The middle-aged officer gestured for me to continue. I actually had an accomplice. An accomplice? Aren't you wondering how I knew where the deputy director's files were kept, and when security was lax? The secret of the deceased Fang Ru. It was the head nurse, she told me. We used to be lovers. But we split up for various reasons, and 3 years ago we met again by chance. I told her I had a perversion for messing with deputy directors. She said she could help, because she was unlucky herself and had long resented those deputy directors. She could tell me where to find the files so I could pick good targets, but she couldn't hand them to me personally. I had to take them myself. The day I killed Fang Ru, she was there. Fang Ru told her to call the police, and she did pull out her phone, but the one who actually called wasn't her. It was someone else. You can verify it. The officers exchanged glances. They nodded, and soon someone went to check the call records, the scene footage, and the head nurse's phone logs. An hour later, 2 young officers rushed in and reported the findings to the middle-aged officer. The middle-aged officer nodded and immediately ordered the arrest of the hospital head nurse, never letting a single criminal escape. He turned to me and said, "This counts as your redemption, but Cheng Jida, your crimes are too severe. Even with what you've revealed, it won't change your execution sentence." I smiled and said, "I know, officer. Consider this my atonement to the victims. I don't beg for survival. Dream prison is a good thing. Outsiders can't see the blood and cruelty. Only the criminals feel everything themselves. And they can empathize. Use it well." Peace Under Heaven, 2059, November 11th. The first criminal to enter Dream Prison, serial killer Cheng Jida, 1 week after release, was executed by firing squad. He was the first to repent before execution, cursing himself as an animal. A criminal who begged for death. Dream Prison's reputation soared, ushering in the new era of punishment. From then on, the light of fairness and justice shone upon Dream House. Merchants in spirit and body must enter Dream House to relive victim suffering. Killers must kill themselves. Who will be the next resident?